Hi, I'm Perry Black right here at Second Chance Youth Ranch TV. Our guest on this show is Pastor Marvin Barham from Jubilee Church in North Little Rock, and he's also an adoptive dad. So you don't want to miss this show because we're going to talk about adoption and children in care and how you can impact the world. And we'll be right back with Pastor Marvin. Hi, I'm Pastor Perry Black right here at Second Chance Youth Ranch TV, and we've got a great show for you who are interested in mentoring, fostering, or adopting, and being involved and engaged in the pro-life community. Our special guest is Marvin Barham. Marvin, God bless you.
God bless you.
Now, a lot of the folks out there probably, like so many who don't know me, probably don't know you either.
Right.
So it's been my privilege today to get to know you, and you told me something I didn't even know, that you were actually for a period of time in my youth ministry.
I was actually in your youth ministry.
Now, my associate back in those days was Moses and Joshua. So,
right.
So that's been a long time ago.
That's a long time.
Actually, when Agape Church was still in the storefront.
Right.
And Agape moved in their current building in the spring of 1983. So it was prior to 1983.
Right.
And but you're also right now a pastor. So you're a pastor in Maumelle.
Yes, sir.
Tell us the name of your ministry.
It's Jubilee Church International.
And why Jubilee?
Jubilee is in Maumelle is an extension of a church, Jubilee Church in Pensacola, Florida, that was founded by Pastor Lyndall Ballinger. And Pastor Lyndall's son Lynn still he pastors that church. Pastor Ballinger has passed on away, but Pastor Ballinger's always been a spiritual father to me, going back to when I was a young man. And my father was in prophetic ministry and was connected with Pastor Ballinger many, many years ago.
But there's something biblical about Jubilee.
Jubilee, that's right. It's the year of freedom, the year where God says all your debts are wiped out.
Every 50 years?
Every 50 years, right.
In the
was
Jewish
the 50
community.
Jubilee.
Yeah. And so years ago in Pensacola, Jubilee Church down there started. Who came here to start Jubilee in Maumelle? Was that you?
That was me. Our church actually started out of another ministry here locally, and then eventually came up under Jubilee Church in Pensacola.
That's awesome. Now, the reason I'm having you on Second Chance Youth Ranch TV is not because you're a pastor. That's
right.
just extra goodies.
Yes, sir.
So the reason I'm having you on is because you're married.
I'm married.
You got a whole passel of kids.
A whole passel. I got my wife and I have been married 29 years. We're high school sweethearts. I actually met her through my father in a roundabout way. My father was pastoring a church in Cabot, and he prophesied to me how I'd meet her, what she looked like, everything about her life, and 3 years later I met her.
That's better than dating.com.
That's better than, dating, any kind of dating website to have your father prophesy to you exactly who she is. So when I met her, I knew it.
Where'd you meet her at?
In high school.
And
Old
what
Main
high school?
That was Old Main High School there in North Little Rock.
Oh, now, I went to Central High School, and
sorry.
I don't want to offend half the audience,
I'm sorry.
but we called that Dogtown.
Yes, sir.
I don't tell them what they called us at Little Rock Central.
That's right. And I grew up in Levy. It was what we called the Levy Rats.
Yeah.
But
some of the best barbecue in Arkansas was in Levy.
Was down in Levy.
Yeah.
But a lot of good things. Does any good thing come out of Nazareth? Well, what they used to say about Levy.
You couldn't wait to leave?
But I got 5 kids. We actually had 3 daughters. I have 3 adult daughters who I'm extremely blessed. One is actually a school teacher at Agape Academy.
Okay.
The other one is a professional photographer. And my other daughter is a student at Pulaski Tech. And then my wife and I miscarried twins. And that was a hard time.
Yeah.
And then God blessed us with my first son, Joshua.
So let me stop just a moment. We'll come back to your son because that's really important. But how did y'all deal as people of faith with the miscarriages. That's really impactful. I know there's viewers that statement sparked something. How did y'all, as people of faith, and specifically your wife, deal with that? And were y'all pastoring at the time?
No, my wife and I were youth pastors for 14 years at a church in Little Rock, and we actually were doing youth ministry together before we were even married.
Wow.
We were doing ministry. That's all we've ever known,
Yeah.
my wife and I, is ministry.
Yeah.
And we had that miscarriage, and that was hard, and it really challenged my faith, and really questioned, okay, God, you go through all this series of questions. What have I done? What am I not doing?
Yeah.
Where have I failed? Do I not have faith?
Yeah.
You know, is that why this happened?
And then people come around and said, brother, we praying for you if you only had more faith. Did you ever get any of that?
If you get that sin out of your life,
Yeah.
if you quit sinning, God wouldn't do, and all kinds. Well, and then you hear the cultural cliches that drive me nuts, Pastor. Well, God needed more angels in heaven. That is not the God I read of.
Yeah, and there's nowhere in the Bible that when you die you become an angel.
An angel. We
Yeah.
get a little fat baby with
Yeah.
wings. So
y'all processed that
we
whole deal.
processed it. I'll never
by
forget
faith.
standing on my back deck asking all those questions. And God said this simply to me. Did I ever promise you immunity? Did I ever tell you you wouldn't ever experience hardship and heartache in life?
Yeah, in the world you're going to have tribulation.
You're going to have those things. And, you know, the scripture tells us that, you know, since then I've had other things in life. We've all had loved ones we've lost unexpectedly and things like that. And the truth is, you know, the Bible says when Christ returns, he'll put his last enemy under his foot.
Yeah, and that last enemy is death.
Is death.
Now, I know for some of you that touched you. We'll be back here in a moment, and we're going to talk a little bit about your family and Josh, your son. But there are people right now that are watching, and you're going through some of these struggles, and you're thinking perhaps yourself, what have I done or not done? Why is this happening to me? Your enemy, the devil, walks around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour, and he's trying to devour you. Don't quit, don't give up, and we'll be right back.
So we support a lot of foster care organizations across the state, but one of the reasons that we love Second Chance Ranch is that it's making a real difference in the hearts of kids. But what we love about Second Chance Ranch is what Pastor Perry says often, is that it's not a group home, but it's a group of homes. We're truly making a difference in the hearts of kids. There's two answers to why we think it's special to support Second Chance Ranch. From a company perspective, it's that our employees take pride in the fact that we support Second Chance Ranch. We showed the video that you guys put together at every Christmas party last year. And to see grown men and women crying in the audience as to what we're doing as an organization to support the ranch is powerful. From a personal perspective, you have to ask yourself, why has God blessed you with all of this? Wonderful company, wonderful employees, wonderful family. And the answer to that is that what makes it special in supporting foster care as a whole, and especially Second Chance Ranch, is the fact that we can give back to people who don't have that. And that's why it's so powerful, and that's why it's so special, and that's why it warms my heart to see the fact that we are making a difference in the lives of kids. So we do extensive research on any organization that we sponsor. And we look for two things. One is our money going to work? And the other is it making a difference? So our hearts are always to sponsor and support organizations that help Arkansans. We're a group of Arkansans and we love our state and we want to support Arkansans. And so what makes Second Chance Ranch unique is that you can see your money immediately go to the work in the hearts of kids. So our company started in 1927. We're fortunate enough to be one of the oldest companies in the state of Arkansas, celebrating over 90 years this year. We have 450 Arkansans that work hard across the state each and every day in 10 different locations, supporting the communities that we love and serve. We're proud to have a rich heritage. We're proud to be a part of foster care. And we're proud to serve the Arkansans that have been so gracious to do business with us over the last 90 years.
Welcome back to Second Chance Youth Ranch TV. I know if you're just now tuning in, our special guest is Pastor Marvin Barham. He's the pastor of Jubilee Church International in Maumelle, Arkansas. So if you're in that area, you need to check them out.
Yes, sir.
But in the last segment, we were talking about your family.
Yes, sir.
And how your church came to be. And but you mentioned your son Josh in the midst of your 3 grown daughters. So tell me a little bit about your son and the rest of your family.
So after the miscarriage, we had our first son, Joshua, came as a blessing. And he's 15 today, and he is he just got his black belt because we run a Christ-centered martial arts.
Hey, I have a black belt.
That's right. You can get them at Walmart
Yeah, well,
for
actually,
$10.
yeah, you pretty much know where I shop.
But we have a Christ-centered martial arts ministry, and we use
And that's in Maumelle as well?
That's in Maumelle.
And what's the name of that?
It's called Grandmaster Han Martial Arts.
And when do y'all meet?
We meet in Maumelle. We meet on Tuesday nights at 6 o'clock, but we have schools all across the state, in other states, all across the country, and we also help use that to work with foster kids.
Now, do you ever have any negative input from folks? Say you're using martial arts or an Eastern religion
that's right.
to propagate Christ?
All the
So how do you
time.
get around that and still keep Christ-centered in that program?
Well, the first thing I get is, oh, isn't that an Eastern religion? And I go, where was Jesus from? Do you realize that your Christianity is rooted in an Eastern religion called Judaism?
Yeah.
Well, that's part of my biblical studies is the Jewish roots of Christianity. I've studied in Jerusalem under the professors of Hebrew University.
So you're saying
and many
Jesus
others.
was Jewish?
Yeshua is a Jewish word. Yes, sir.
He's Messiah.
Messiah
Yeah.
Mashiach is
Yeshua.
the Jewish Messiah. Yes,
So
sir.
y'all use martial arts, and that's something that y'all have a chapter in right here in Central Arkansas.
Yes, sir.
If somebody wants to get their son or daughter involved in it, what's the age group?
We
the
go
age?
5 years old and up, and we don't do any contracts, and you pay as you train. And if you train at if you're a student at our school, you can train at any school. I'm a 3rd degree black belt. I have a daughter who's a 1st degree, and then my son is a black belt, and that's Joshua. And so we thought, what's interesting, Pastor, is even before my wife and I had our first child, we had all their names. Even before we had our first child, we had always purposed we were going to adopt at some point. It was a biblical responsibility. It's a godly responsibility. I got so tired. I've always been frustrated with Christians who complain about things but aren't part of the solution.
Yeah, put your money where your heart is.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm going to tell you, when we first went to DHS, to the training through the call, to hear the magnitude of the foster problem and sit back and say, well, why is the government so messed up?
Yeah.
Where's the church?
That's the question.
Where are you Christian families with your nice little prepackaged Christian home with 2 children and you're happy and you got a Lexus? What are you doing for the others?
Changing the world.
So we adopted our 2nd son.
Perfect religion and undefiled before God take care of the widows and orphans.
That's right.
And you mentioned the magnitude of the problem, and it's only big because we, the church, are doing so little. There's only a few hundred in this state, a few hundred children waiting for a forever family to be adopted. And there's thousands of churches in this state.
Yes, sir.
And if every church in the state would have a family that church would help support as their safety net, we could solve the adoption problem this year. And that's why this show exists. So how long ago did you and your wife take that step of faith instead of just complaining about the problem, being a casual observer of the problem? When did you guys adopt?
Well, we adopted our son when he was 4 years old, and we're an interracial family. And when we first signed up through the call, I ended up actually getting on board, serving on the board with the call for a while on their advisory board. But when we first signed up, we kept wondering why we were not getting any possible children.
Yeah.
Come to find out, somebody in DHS did not want us adopting interracially. We got that dealt with, and when we first met our son at a Disney extravaganza, are you familiar with that, where the call puts that on? And we saw him, and Pastor, they had him so drugged up. And so, I mean, his personality was, but we knew he was the one God called.
How old is he now?
He is now, we adopted him when he was 4. He is now 13 years old.
13.
Plays football for Maumelle Middle School, plays basketball under the Tim Tebow law.
Yeah.
My wife and I have always been part of a homeschool co-op. And so the boy is smart as can be.
Are you homeschooling now?
We've homeschooled all 5 of our children.
But he's 13, but he's involved in the public school sports, which may surprise you that if you homeschool, or even your children in a private school, if they don't provide specific sports, you can, by law, participate in the public school extracurricular activities because your tax dollars are paying for it.
Still paying for it.
And so your son now is 13. Is that the only adoptive child you guys have?
Yes, sir. That's the only adopted child.
And he's 13. And you found out real quick that there are some challenges bureaucratically.
It's all bureaucratic.
One thing that we want to do with our partnership with DCFS and with the state of Arkansas is see how we, through this show and through our involvement with Second Chance Youth Ranch and the other organizations that you mentioned, Project Zero, The Call, Immerse, that we can simplify this process or make it less expensive.
Yes, sir.
And it's a challenge to adopt.
And there were some, let me just clarify, there were some wonderful social workers.
Yeah.
Wonderful people that work at DHS. And when you look at the magnitude of the problem that they're trying to solve and the resources they have, it's a major challenge.
Yeah, so why don't you continue to pray not only for Second Chance Youth Ranch TV, but pray for kids in care. It is a big problem, but it is a problem that we, the church, we believers, we can solve it by bringing solutions. And we are here every week to help you make the connection. And we will have information available for you right here on the screen for places like The Call that will be a connection for you to answer a lot of the questions. A lot of times we don't make decisions because of the fear of the unknown. We don't know what we're getting into. We don't know who to call, and we put it off. And we live with the round to it philosophy. We'll do it when we get around to it, and we just never get around to it. Life happens while you make another
One
plans.
of the biggest things that really impacted me was sitting in one of those foster meetings and the voice of the Lord. And one of the things they said in those meetings was, it's not the kid's fault.
That's right. So it's not the kid's fault. We can bring solutions, and there's enough of us working together, we can do it. So we'll be right back with answers for you.
I tell anyone, if you want to help out, if you want to make a difference in somebody's life, get involved in foster care. Be a mentor, be a supporter, be a foster parent, a respite foster parent. There's so many ways that you can get involved and help. And maybe you'll be like me, eventually find a right connection and choose to adopt. The process is different for everybody. It's unique, it's special. I would highly encourage you, because every child deserves a chance to be loved. The second, third, they need us. Without us, these children, who knows? So get involved, help out, support, encourage, participate, make a difference.
Welcome back to Second Chance Youth Ranch TV. We are talking tonight with Pastor Marvin Barham.
Yes, sir.
He and his wife have been pastors in Maumelle, Arkansas at Jubilee Church International for 18 years. And he's an adoptive dad. You've got 4 birth children. Did I count that right?
4 birth children and one adopted. And we're an interracial family. And I'm telling you, when we adopted Jason, it changed our lives for the best. I mean, it changed us. It changed my whole church.
Well, let me ask you a
My whole
question.
ministry.
Because
It
it
all
does
changed.
impact a church.
It
It
does.
impacts a community of believers. Now, your wife teaches currently at Agape Academy, but you homeschool.
My daughter does.
Oh, your
One of my
daughter
daughters.
does.
Yes, sir.
So does your wife do the homeschool?
My wife homeschools the 2 boys just now. In fact, she said if we had boys first, that might have been it.
Yeah. Hey, Mom, I don't want to study. I want to do something else. Squirrel.
Like,
Yeah.
we'll remodel the home when the boys are grown.
Yeah. Well, it won't be long. They'll be out of the house before you know it.
They're growing fast. They wear a size 13.
Oh my gosh. And they're involved in their public school extracurricular sports activities. And as homeschoolers, have you found certain challenges, not just with adoption, but with homeschooling? Has that been a challenge, or is it?
The homeschooling hasn't been. I'll tell you, we encourage people to homeschool, but it takes a team.
Yeah.
The father's got to be involved.
Well, my daughters, when we first moved to Bryant back in the late 1980s, I want to clarify it's the 1980s, and my daughters were adjusting to a new town, a new school, and they said, Dad, why don't y'all just homeschool us? And I said, well, honey, I would, but I want y'all to get an education.
Well,
because I wasn't able to make that commitment because at that time I was traveling nationally doing family enrichment seminars and just couldn't be that engaged in their homeschool.
Well, I've been blessed to work at Camp Robinson, work full-time for the Army, retired 21 years from the Arkansas National Guard, still work for the Arkansas National Guard, but always been close to home where I could run home, deal with any issues Mama had. But
they won't come in after recess.
One of the big, well, the boys now, they just want to eat all the time. But one of the big battles is breaking the stigma of homeschooling in Arkansas. That
and that's really
parents
happened.
live, back in the woods with 2 teeth. And
school choice now in Arkansas has really begun to get a foothold from the governor right on down through our legislature. It has really seen a real paradigm shift where school choice is becoming very, very favorable in the state. Now, I asked a state leader just a couple of weeks ago, what's the odds that this state can really become a pioneer in school choice legislation and money following the child? And he told me, and this guy's a leader in the state of Arkansas, and he said it's going to have to be done federally. Well, President Trump is pro-school choice and charter school, and competition in education, like in any area of our society, is so important. But we're not here to talk so much about homeschool and public or private school. My daughter's a public school teacher. I'm not anti-public school. I am pro-Constitution. I'm a conservative, and I'm very pro-family and pro-life.
Right.
So you guys, we've got about three and a half minutes left, but you guys have adopted. You're very engaged in your community. You have a Karate Type for Christ martial arts program where you mentor young men and young women through that program as well. So what would you say to anyone watching that's had a thought or used to have a dream of adopting or fostering? How did that process work? You guys had to go through the process where you fostered your son for 6 months. Was it a lot of paperwork? Was that hard? Or did the call walk you through that?
The call made that so easy. The call was such a blessing through that process. They walked us through it along the way. They even helped us with issues where our son initially was in a public school and they had him on the highest dose of Ritalin you could put a kid on. They had him on clonidine, which is blood pressure medicine for a grown man. They had him, and eventually we had a physician in our church who helped us, and we took him off of that eventually, gradually. And I remember my wife, his last day in that public school, because we gradually transitioned him into our homeschooling environment, which was quite different for him. And but I remember that psychologist, that state-paid psychologist, not being negative, but I'm just saying, my wife said, he said, oh, it's amazing. He's improving and he's more alert. He's energetic. He's more open, social. His schooling's better. I mean, just all this praising. That medication must be working. And my wife said, no, he's not been on that for 4 months. What changed was his home environment. What changed was a father. My son, when we first got him, didn't even know what the word daddy meant. Never heard the word daddy.
He had a family model, a family support system. Now, as an educator here at Arkansas Christian Academy, we know, and my daughter being in public school and people in our church involved in the school system, we know some children need some medicinal help, just like you mentioned. You mentioned the blood pressure medicine for a man. sometimes we do need some medicinal help, but when it becomes a crutch, or it's the first thing we go to, rather than something to help us. It's like having a cut. You need a Band-Aid for a while, but you don't wear it forever. We got about 1 minute. So it's been a lot of challenges, and it's a challenge to adopt, but we want to make sure that on our screen, we're giving you the information to contact the call. They would love to have you contact them, I know.
Yes,
We've
sir.
got a meeting with the call, I think it's today or tomorrow, to talk about therapeutic foster care. There are so many opportunities. Maybe you're not at a place right now where you can adopt, but you can mentor. There's a lot of opportunities at Second Chance Youth Ranch and other organizations to mentor young people. We have a screening process. We want to get you involved and engaged. This time you got off the couch and got off your soapbox and got involved, and put your money and your action, time, talent, and treasure where your heart is. Our heart is with hurting people. And I know that some of you watching are struggling with the needs of your child. Maybe they are highly medicated. Maybe they're out of the home. Maybe they're addicted. This show exists to help you make a connection. And I believe, as I've said before, when you get involved with some organization or someone who's making a difference, something supernatural happens in the spirit where God begins to move in a very special, unique way in your life. And that's why this show exists. We want to pray with you and challenge you to be involved and engaged, and it's not over. So hang in there and don't give up, and we'll see you right here again at Second Chance Youth Ranch TV. God bless you.
A mission field around you is filled with young hearts needing a forever family. And at Second Chance Youth Ranch, our team is committed to providing healthy, stable, loving homes and families to hurting children in the Arkansas foster care system and those up for adoption. Please contact us if you feel the tug at your heart to help foster or adopt, and find out the steps you could take to help fulfill a child's lifelong dream. Maybe you can't foster or adopt, but you could help. The need for thousands of children in the system is staggering. But with the help of faithful partners and business alliances, we are meeting those needs right now. Would you help us make a difference? Every gift, regardless of size, impacts a child's life directly and helps provide for a home in the gap right now. Visit the Second Chance Youth Ranch website at 2CYR.org to read more, watch the stories, and to make a contribution for a hurting child's care. Monthly partners are needed, so please contact us right away. And as you partner with this ministry, you are partnering with the Heavenly Father that has promised to be Father to the fatherless. God bless you for helping Second Chance Youth Ranch.